and welcome. My name is Amy Weber. I am a child therapist, a parent coach, and I am co founder of Speak, Learn, and Play in Brooklyn, New York. This month, we are talking about preparation. And today, specifically, I want to talk about how to help neurodivergent kids handle what's coming. This is something that sounds very simple, but it is actually one of the most powerful supports we can give neurodivergent kids, and that is preparation. And I want to start by saying this clearly. Preparation is not about controlling every outcome. It is not about making sure nothing ever goes wrong. It is not about scripting your child's life so tightly that there is no room for surprise, disappointment, frustration, or the occasional plot twist involving a missing shoe, a loud hand dryer, or a sudden announcement that today is wear pajamas to school day and somehow everyone in the school knew except for you. Preparation is about helping kids feel less blindsided, more capable, and more supported when life asks something of them. For many neurodivergent kids, the world can feel like it is constantly springing pop quizzes on them. Changes in routine, substitute teachers, birthday parties, doctor's appointments, fire drills, new camps, family gatherings, transition from screen time to dinner, class trips. These may look like ordinary, fun parts of childhood from the outside, but inside a child's nervous system, they can feel huge. So today, I want to talk about what preparation actually means for neurodivergent kids, why we'll figure it out when we get there can actually feel terrifying, how predictability supports regulation, and how to prepare without over rehearsing or accidentally creating more rigidity. And then, after all of that, I'm going to give you a simple framework you can use at home: preview, plan, practice, pause. So let's jump into it. Preparation is a bridge between I can't handle this and I have a plan for this. And that is really at the heart of it. When a child says, I don't want to go, or what if something bad happens, or I'm not doing that, or I hate this, we sometimes hear defiance, avoidance, or negativity. But often underneath that resistance, there is a child who feels unprepared. Not always consciously, they may not be able to say, I am feeling anxious because I do not have enough information about the sequences of events, the sensory demands, the social expectations, and the available escape routes. Although, honestly, some of our kids might say exactly that. But more often, it comes out as behavior. They refuse, they argue, they melt down, they ask the same question 47 times. They suddenly need to know every detail about parking, snacks, who will be there, what time it ends, whether there will be balloons, and whether the bathroom has an automatic flush. And as parents, all of those questions can be exhausting because, from the adult perspective, we may think we're just going to grandma's, or it's only a school event, or you've been to the dentist before. But for a child whose brain and body rely heavily on predictability, just going somewhere may not feel simple. This is why the phrase, we'll figure it out when we get there, can be so hard for neurodivergent kids. For some kids, that phrase sounds flexible and reassuring. For other kids, it sounds like no one has a plan, the adults are winging it, anything could happen. I will be trapped in a situation I don't understand and I won't know what to do. That is not comforting. That is horror movie music. Neurodivergent kids often work incredibly hard to make sense of their environment. They may be tracking sensory input, social rules, timing, expectations, transitions, and their their own internal state all at once. When too much is unknown, the brain can interpret that uncertainty as threat. And when the brain senses threat, the nervous system shifts into protection mode. And that might look like flight, running away, hiding, avoiding, trying to leave. It might look like fight, yelling, arguing, refusing, blaming. It might look like freeze, shutting down, going quiet, not responding at all. It might look like fawn, agreeing in the moment and then falling apart later. So when we prepare kids, we are not spoiling them. We are not making them fragile. We are not teaching them that the whole world will bend to their preferences. We want to give their nervous system enough information to come out of emergency mode and move towards participation. Predictability supports regulation. That does not mean life needs to be perfectly predictable. It can't be. And honestly, if you have children, pets, relatives, school emails, or socks, you already know that life is not a predictable institution. But small pieces of predictability can make a huge difference. When a child knows what is coming, what will be expected, what will be hard, and what they can do if they struggle, their brain does not have to use as much energy scanning for danger. That frees up energy for flexibility, problem solving, communication, and coping. This is especially important because many neurodivergent kids are not just reacting to the event itself, they are reacting to the uncertainty around the event. A child may be able to handle a birthday party if they know where it is, how long it will last, who will be there, whether food is involved, if singing is going to happen, and what they can do if it gets too loud. But if you simply say, we're going to a party, their brain may fill in the blanks with every possible worst case scenario. And children's brains are very creative, deeply inconvenient, but very creative. And that is where preparation helps. But I want to make an important distinction. There is a difference between preparing and over rehearsing. Preparing gives a child a map. Over rehearsing tries to force the exact route. Preparing says, here's what we expect, here's what might be hard, and here's what you can do. Over rehearsing, on the other hand, says, here is exactly how this should go. And if anything changes, we are all doomed. Preparing creates flexibility. Over rehearsing often creates rigidity. This matters because sometimes, in our very loving attempt to help, we give so many details and rehearse so many possibilities that the child becomes more anxious, not less. We may accidentally send the message, this situation is so dangerous that we need a 42-page preparedness manual and possibly a full command center. The goal is not to prepare for every possible thing that could happen. The goal is to prepare for enough. Enough information, enough support, enough coping tools, enough shared language, enough confidence that a child can think, I might not know everything, but I know what to do if this gets hard. And that is the sweet spot. Prepared, not perfect. So let's talk about a practical tool you can use. I call it preview, plan, practice, pause. The first step is preview. Preview what will happen in simple, concrete language. A preview is not a lecture. It is not a TED talk delivered in the doorway while your child is holding one shoe and slowly melting into the floor. A preview is short, clear, and specific. You might say, after lunch, we're going to the dentist. First, we'll check in at the desk. Then we'll wait in the waiting room. Then the hygienist will call your name. I'll stay with you. They'll look at your teeth, clean them, and then we'll go home. Or tomorrow is the first day of camp. We'll park, walk to the front table, find your group, meet your counselor. I'll stay for a few minutes and then I'll say goodbye. Pickup is after lunch. Or we're going to your cousin's party. There may be music, kids running around, and cake. We'll stay for about an hour. If it gets too loud, we can take a break outside. The goal is to give the child a basic mental picture. Neurodivergent kids often do better when the invisible is made visible. They need to know not just the event, but the shape of the event. The second step is plan. And this is key. Plan for the hard parts, not just the schedule. A lot of preparation focuses on logistics. What time we leave, where are we going, what comes first. And that is super, super helpful. But many kids also need us to name the likely stress points. For example, the waiting might feel boring. The music might be loud. You might feel nervous when I leave. It may be hard if the game doesn't go just as you expected. You may not like the food there. There may be a lot of people talking at once. This is not being negative. This is being honest in a supportive way. We are saying, I know you. I know what might feel tricky, and we can make a plan. And that plan may sound like if it gets loud, you can use your headphones. If you don't like the food, we'll bring a snack. If you need a break, you can say, I need a minute. If you feel stuck, you can look at me and tap your wrist or scratch your nose, and I'll know you need help. If you don't know what to say, you can ask, can I play? Or what are you building? Planning for the hard parts helps kids understand that struggle is not failure. It is part of the plan. And that is huge because many kids think that if they become upset, the whole thing has gone wrong. But when we plan for hard moments ahead of time, we teach them hard moments are allowed and part of life. We expect some bumps. We have tools for those bumps. The third step is practice. Practice one tiny piece ahead of time, not the entire event, not the entire social interaction from start to finish with emotional choreography, just one tiny piece. If your child is nervous about ordering at a restaurant, practice saying the order. If your child struggles with transitions, practice the goodbye phrase. If your child is going to a new building, look at a picture of that entrance or go to see it in person. If your child is anxious about camp, practice putting on the backpack and walking to the car. If your child struggles to ask for breaks, practice the sentence, I need a break. Tiny practice lowers the activation energy. It gives the child's brain a little familiarity before the real moment arrives. And this is important. Practice should build confidence, not pressure. If practice is starting to turn into a performance, kids are going to start to resist it. So keep it light and playful. Keep it short. You can even say, let's just practice the first sentence, or let's practice the part where you tell me you need help, or let's do a 20-second practice. This is not Broadway rehearsal. We don't need costumes, lighting, and emotional devastation. We just need one small moment of I've done this before. The fourth step is pause. Pause afterward to reflect. This is a step that many of us skip because once the thing is over, we are tired. The shoes are off. Someone is asking for a snack. The dog is eating a marker. We move on. But the pause is where learning gets stored. Afterward, ask what helped, what surprised us, what was harder than we expected, what was easier than we expected, what should we remember for next time? This is not a cross examination. You are not conducting a courtroom review of the birthday party. It can be very simple. You did it. What helped you get through the loud part? Or that goodbye was hard, but you recovered. What helped? Or we learned that the cafeteria was louder than we expected. Next time we'll bring headphones. The pause helps your child build self knowledge. It also helps you better plan next time. And equally important, it helps your child see themselves as capable, not because everything went perfectly, but because they got through something. That distinction matters. We do not want kids to believe I can only handle things when nothing goes wrong. We want them to believe that things can go wrong and I can still have support. I can still use tools. I can still recover. That is resilience. Now, I want to speak for a moment to the parents who hear all of this and think, okay, but what if my child becomes dependent on preparation? What if they can't handle anything unless I preview it perfectly? And that is a fair concern. And this is when we come back to the difference between preparation and control. The goal is not to make life so predictable that your child never experiences uncertainty. The goal is to help your child build a relationship with uncertainty. At first, preparation may need to be very detailed. A child who is highly anxious, sensory sensitive, demand avoidant, or easily dysregulated may need a lot of scaffolding. But over time, we want the preparation to become more flexible. Instead of here is every single thing that will happen ever, we want to move toward here's what we know. Here's what we don't know yet. Here's what we can do if something changes. That phrase is powerful. Here's what we can do if something changes. Because flexibility does not come from pretending that change is no big deal. Flexibility comes from believing I have a way through this change. So rather than saying, don't worry, it'll be fine, we might say something may be different than expected and we'll handle it together. Or we don't know exactly who will be there, but we do know how to take a break if you need one. Or the schedule might change. So let's make a plan A and a plan B. This helps kids practice flexible thinking without throwing them into the deep end of uncertainty and yelling, swim. And let's be honest, a lot of us adults do not love that either. So here is a parent reflection I want to leave you with. Am I preparing my child to feel capable, or am I preparing so nothing ever goes wrong? And that question is not meant to make you feel guilty. It is meant to help you notice the purpose of preparation. Because sometimes we prepare from a place of fear. We think, I need to prevent the meltdown. I need to prevent the judgment. I need to prevent the phone call from school. I need to prevent the family comment. I need to prevent my child from falling apart. And of course we do. We are human. We love our kids. And frankly, Some of us have been through enough public meltdowns to deserve a punch card and a free beverage. But when preparation becomes about preventing anything hard from happening, it can make the world feel more dangerous. When preparation is about building capability, it sends a different message. It says you can do hard things with support, you can have a plan, you can ask for help, you can recover, you don't need to be perfect to participate. That is what we want kids to internalize. So, as you think about the next transition, event, appointment, family gathering, school change, camp day, try using those 4 Ps. Preview what will happen in simple, concrete language. Practice one tiny piece ahead of time. Pause afterward and ask, what helped? What surprised us? What should we remember next time? And remember that the goal is not to make life perfectly predictable. The goal is to help your child believe, even when I don't know exactly what will happen, I have tools, support, and a way through. That is prepared, not perfect. And for neurodivergent kids, that can make all the difference. Thank you so much for being with me today, and we'll see you soon.